Hi, everybody. Okay, I have a request because I think we're all probably a little tired. So if everyone could just stand up for a minute. Okay, I'll lead you in an exercise. Just wiggle around like this, take your arms and get all the repetitive stress injuries out of being up late and saying good morning and good night all the time. That's a lot. And then go like this. It's a thing where you take your left shoulder and your right shoulder and just go there we go. That's good. That's good. Okay, and then jump up and down a couple times, 10. All right. Thank you very much for participating. I could give you a POAP for that. That would be kind of cool if they had animated GIFs. Yeah. GIFs. Hi, my name is Amber Case. I do a lot of different things. I do research in web economics for Mozilla Foundation. I also have founded a couple weird startups, and I currently advise Unlock Protocol. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that kind of came to be and why it's interesting, and then we might have a little bit of time for questions. So this talk is about NFTs with superpowers and the kind of next generation of NFTs. So of course we all know the creative economy is pretty broken in a lot of different ways. There's not a lot of options for surviving online. We all know about closed marketplaces. They have locked-in fan bases, and then I forgot what website this is, but I can't even see the content. I think it's The Guardian. It's just atrocious. And then of course if you put your content and creator communities on any of these platforms, you can get banned at any time for no good reason. And fundamentally, the communities are not portable, so if you get your community shut down, you can't really access it and take it somewhere else. Plus, then if you have people supporting you, you've got all these credit card fees, you have somebody trying to support you as a one-off, they're entering their credit card again and again, and it's really annoying. I came from the Web 1.0 world with Hamsterdams and all the different GeoCities and even Neopets. I didn't learn CSS through Neopets, but I know a lot of people that did, and they are doing a lot of really cool Web3 things. But fundamentally, the feeling of this was so much like it is today. In Web3, it's it was play and you could own your own website. There was kind of a sense of decentralization because you could just run a cheap old crappy computer in your closet, provide some heat and serve your own website, and you didn't have to worry about sustaining all sorts of things. I mean, the worst thing that happened to me in that time was I was running a PHPBB forum, and I had a lot of spam, and I had to ban a lot of IP address ranges. But fundamentally, I still ran the forum myself, and I was able to get moderators and administrators to help with spam and trolling. You can't really do that when you don't own that marketplace anymore, where there's just ads coming in and promoting bipolar behavior. So fundamentally, this was human scale. You could build it with a couple people or just yourself, or you could have, you could be 14 and build something. And then we had this very strange issue where we started to have one-size-fits-all interactions, and it kind of templated itself. And all of this was industrial scale. It requires so much money to provide this, to have user experience, to have this stand up to all sorts of DDoS attacks and things. So I wanted to know what actually happened here. Why did we go from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, and what does that mean? So before, a little bit larger time range than this, there were a lot of blogs, and everyone had an RSS or an Atom feed on their site, and so you could subscribe to them with a feed reader. It was definitely a lot of overwhelm, but you could still have all of that content on your computer offline, and people could kind of follow each other that way. But fundamentally, you were following a website that somebody owned, that they were doing, and it was silly content, niche content, it was fun. And then something happened. There were some fights that started to happen between these two subscription protocols, and we call this the RSS Atom Wars. This played out over various message boards and emails, and it was really annoying because they were both providing the same thing. Subscribe to somebody's decentralized website, and you get it in a feed reader. And so after this happened, there started to be a new thing where we had social networks where you could subscribe to somebody within the context of that one website. And this became really annoying because on the one hand, it allowed everybody to subscribe to content and not have to run your own site and not have to download a feed reader and not have to click on the RSS button. But it also fundamentally meant that we had centralized platforms. And centralized platforms were really expensive to run, and so we had to put ads on them. And this kind of one-size-fit-all social network removed all of the creativity and silliness and goofiness and play that people were doing on their own like silly websites. And we entered the era that a lot of people are in right now, the era of the template itself, where you have one template for interacting with social media, you have one place to put your face, few reaction types, and that's it. And the idea is that the system makes you annoyed by showing you incendiary content so that you're on it longer, so that your amygdala gets larger and you get like more hyperactive and upset, and then you just make them money. And this is really, really annoying. So I call this like the rise of the impoverished ecosystem. The diversity of content super low. There's only like 10 types of posts that people ever make on Facebook. You have the request, you have the request for a coffee shop or like an orthopedic surgeon. You have the I'm so mad about this article because I don't agree with it, but I'm going to share it anyway and get in a fight with my loved ones. There's a piece of fake news that spreads like wildfire. There's a picture of me at a place that's cooler than the place that you've been to right now because you just woke up in the morning, you haven't done anything cool in your life in the last 5 years, and you really feel bad and you feel like you're going to compare yourself to this person. You're going to feel really, really bad, and then anyway, there's 10 types, and they're not very good. Only one of them is interesting, the one where people ask for help from their communities. And now there's a new kind of content, which is good morning and good night, and I think that that's a really helpful piece of content that we're using these networks for. These networks just profit off of your misery, and we're becoming more and more miserable when we use them. So if we talk about, and this is a little silly, but like, Web 1.0 was data-centric. It was, I'm going to share information with you on like how to fix your bike, or we're all fans of 5 Hour and Frenzy on this post board, and we're 14, and then this is their first relationship online because like our parents, like there's all this kind of freedom. And then Web 2.0 obviously is silo-centric, and I'm hoping that Web 3 is more community and human-centric, that it's a little bit more like the message board that you might have joined in the 90s and 2000s that was community-oriented, where it was small enough that somebody could care about your experience. Because I think on Facebook, if something terrible happens and you like text support, they're not going to help you because they fundamentally don't know who you are, they don't care who you are, and they don't have enough team to do all of that requests. But on a forum, if somebody had like a health risk, you bet there would be at least 5 people that would actually like take time to figure out like where they lived and help them out. So what's missing? Like, why do we have to have all this advertising and support? In some of my research last year, I was kind of noticing that it's really easy online to pay for something with a lot of money because there's expensive credit card fees, or maybe you can have some sort of free content with advertising, but there's a kind of missing middle of web payments. And it's that content that's like a fraction of a cent to like 5 cents, or you go to a website and you just want that one article and they want you on a $5 a month membership and you got to enter your credit card. Like, that's kind of the missing middle. And early on, I helped start this thing called the indie web movement in like 2010, 2011, which was this idea that we would have decentralized content and it would be great. But we didn't know the mechanics of actually how to make it work until kind of crypto showed up. So we were just kind of sitting there marinating on like, what would decentralization look like? And meanwhile, this is kind of a graph of the missing middle. It's like you have recurring and subscription purchases on the left, which is fairly easy to monetize, but not everybody wants to sign up for a subscription to The Guardian for $10 a month to just get that one article, especially if it's about COVID or like something really helpful that's meaningful. And then you have all the advertising, and then you have the medium large transactions like paying somebody back for dinner at like through Venmo or PayPal, or just buying something that's like a certain amount of money. But all this little stuff in the middle, which is really fundamentally interesting creator content, there just isn't really a payment model or a protocol for that. So how do we work on fixing that? So one of the things that I noticed when I was looking through like all the different error codes of the web, is that there was an error code called 402. Now we all know about 404, not found, and it's really fun to make one of those pages online on like GitHub with the AutoCAD. It's not found, oh no. But 402 is something that's been lost to time since the creation of the web. 402 looks like this. It's incredibly boring looking, and it just says 402, payment required. This code is reserved for future use. Before this version of the web, there was a scientific web called NSFNet, and it didn't have any commercialization in it. And so people weren't even used to the idea, since it came out of scientific communities in CERN in Geneva, Switzerland for particle physics and like connecting between nodes to get information because people didn't want to walk down this like huge particle accelerator hallway. Like this was a convenience layer on a large running track, basically, so that you could get scientific information around. They didn't think about the commercial aspects of it. And so when Tim Berners-Lee defined this code, it was just like, well, you can do something about this in the future. I'm not doing anything with this now. So now we got stuck in this thing where we got protocols for all sorts of other things. We've got HTTP, we have email protocols, IMAP, SMTP, POP, great. But where's the protocol for money? This did not get defined. And so that means that we have a very interesting problem that's plaguing the web right now, which is we have a bunch of centralized payment platforms. We have reasonably large credit card fees because we're trying to put like fiat and credit card in the real world into online, and the small payments become super difficult. So what we're really talking about is micropayments of any format. And there's a couple of people that have tried to solve this problem. How do you really enable like global micropayments and allow people to transfer that into different fiats or different cryptos without all these transaction fees? So if the internet runs on these protocols and you can interact and put user interfaces on these, then where are the protocols for handling money? So I was looking into that, and I thought along the way, it was really upsetting when I started looking into this, because you'd see somebody get out of Stanford University and they'd be like, I want to make the next Facebook, the next social network. I said, who's working on protocols? It wasn't until I met Juan Benet from IPFS Filecoin that I was like, hey, somebody's actually working on something. I think it was like 2013 when I met him. I was like, yay, somebody is audacious enough to work on what has been considered boring for like the past 30 years. So doing anything in this space at all that's not like the next social network, but like a protocol is super powerful. Like very small things over time can become super large. So it's time for something new. If you can think larger than the web and say, let's fill in that missing part of the web, there's two different protocols. I'll leave one for you to research on your own. One of them is called Interledger, and then the other one that I'll talk about today is called Unlock Protocol. So Interledger allows for micropayments, streaming micropayments with any currencies and any crypto globally, instantaneously. And there's more and more web wallets that are supporting that. And then the other one that I found out about when I started doing this little Future of Micropayments conference last year is called Unlock Protocol. So Unlock Protocol is interesting because it allows for this payment directly on your own site, which is nice. So it's decentralized payments. And it was created by Julian, who I met in 2012 through the indie web movement. We were really interested in feed readers back then, and he did a thing called SuperFeeder, which got bought by Medium. So when you're using Medium, you're actually using some of the stuff that he built. But he was kind of asking the question like, okay, there's this NFT thing in 2018, but what if it was more than just a picture? What is the full range of what an NFT can do? What if an NFT had superpowers? What are the utilities that NFTs can provide? And so it becomes interesting to actually look at more. And I think when I talk with people about like making JPEG sets, I'm like, people aren't going to buy your JPEGs unless there's something more, like having a membership to a community, having something that you can do that's more meaningful than just kind of hoarding things. So these are some of the kind of screenshots of what you can do. So for instance, DinnerDow, Austin Robbie is here, who, if you want to stand up, Austin, put you on the spot. Austin was like, well, what if you could have an NFT that if you purchase it, it allows you into a dinner club of like 8 people. And the idea of DinnerDow is that you can just have dinners with friends, but you have to pool your resources. And so this is an example. You can go into Unlock Protocol, click on the app, and you can create time-sensitive NFTs. So you can create a seasonal NFT that basically acts as a ticket, then expires over time. You can set the total amount of tickets that you can create, and then it will generate you a little landing page, or you can integrate it directly onto your website so that you can actually allow checkout for the first time on your own site. This doesn't require you to set up Stripe or PayPal or anything like that, or Venmo. It's a protocol that means even when Unlock Protocol, even if it went away at some point, or like, let's say lost funding, it would still work. And that's the idea of a protocol. Like even if your email provider goes down, the email protocol that you're using behind the scenes can be used to stuff that into another email provider. And that's the idea with this, that you can collect your community here, and you actually have ownership of that, and you can transport it. There's interoperability. So this is an example of a musician who made a little track, and what he did is, you can play the first 30 seconds of the track, and then if you want to play more, you can click this button and pay an XDAI and actually unlock the rest of the track without paying a crazy gas fee. And in doing so, you can allow people to do more with that membership. They can log in with their MetaMask account, and you can allow them access to things like Discord or comment on your website or have access to a special part in your forum. So this is really about like, how do you decentralize the paywall itself and prevent people from having to enter their credit card a bunch of times and encounter all of these like really annoying pop-ups on the web. Just trying to provide people an alternative to having to put advertising on their site, or go to Patreon, which takes a bunch of your earnings. That instead of just saying all of my content's on my website and Patreon and YouTube and all these other places, this can allow you to have access to more of those universes and still like retain that ownership. So suddenly, as we're seeing, the next generation of NFTs, or really the kind of depth of the iceberg of what NFTs are able to do versus the tip of the iceberg, which we're seeing reported in the news a lot, is that NFTs can become these community memberships across time and space. I'm not going to use the word metaverse anymore. There's omniverse, and there's like even larger universes. So now that metaverse is dead, we can go to omniverse, which is a collection of metaverses. So I think we're living in the omniverse, and there's like an even higher up one that we'll go to when Facebook takes the omniverse idea. So NFTs as community memberships means that if you're a member of my website, let's say caseorganic.com, you can log in with your wallet. It will note that you have the membership NFT, which I can give to you for free. I can make it time limited. I can make it expensive or not. I can put it in Matic or XDAI or Ethereum or whatever. But then I could give you access to certain things like comment on my blog, have a secret blog post, voting capabilities if you want to vote on what I should be doing in the future with my life, or if I'm a gamer, like a bonus level. And then, so this is the screen where you can create the lock. So basically you create a lock the content, whatever you want to lock, and then you can put that directly onto your website. So because I'm a fan of Pokemon, this is what I see of NFTs as. What everybody's seeing it is its first evolution, which is just images. Now we're seeing communities like Friends with Benefits, and in the future, we're going to see it more as authentication. And this was originally like what I wanted to see back in 2010. It was every company right now who provides any service must not only be good at providing the primary service, but also the security. So if I'm a medical company, I have to also provide security for those medical records. So what I learned is that Fujitsu and in Finland actually did like a personal health data file. They did this a little bit more old school because there wasn't really like a blockchain. But the idea was that you could kind of tokenize your health data record, and then things could get written to that tokenized health data record, and you could log in with that health record every time you wanted to go to the doctor. And this completely inverts that file, that kind of file format that we had before, which was hack into the database and you get access to everybody's data. Now it's when you hack into the database, you get access to maybe 1 or 2 people's information that's been sharing that data with you for the past 15 minutes. And you're logging in with your wallet, and your wallet becomes the authenticator and kind of becomes OAuth. So instead of logging in with Facebook as a third party, you log in with yourself. You log in with the NFT. You can have thousands or millions of NFTs in your wallet, but it's kind of like Irving Goffman's presentation of self in everyday life. I have a sociology degree, and this is one of my favorite books. Is you are a different kind of person in different groups, right? So you might be like a dad in one group and a brother in another group, or like a kid in another group. But having NFTs as authentication allows you to participate at different levels in different communities and kind of take that information with you instead of having all of the information sent from logging in with Facebook everywhere. So I think this is like a really important next step for NFTs that I'm like rooting for. And then that's how it goes. And then of course, people can have access to anything that accepts these membership NFTs. So I think the biggest thing for this is, with Unlock, we've created a grant program. And if you want to integrate with any other site or any other community, I would encourage you to apply for a grant. Because we're just trying to make, it's a protocol, right? So it's a little bit different than just creating a consumer piece of software. You have to build all these integrations. So right now we have a bunch of different integrations. There's a Discord integration. So if you have a special membership NFT, you get access to a Discord channel. Mintgate integration. Mintgate does tokenized links. There's a person from Mintgate here. It's super token gated links. Discourse, the forum, Webflow. We're working on a really nice WordPress plugin so that people can actually monetize their WordPress websites without all of this overhead. And then Decentraland. So this is SortyBot, which was a Unlock grantee. And what it does is if you have the membership NFT, you get granted privileges in a Discord channel, and you can click and authenticate with the NFT instead of OAuth or Facebook login or Twitter login. This is a particularly interesting one in Decentraland. This is called Unlock Saloon. Henry Hoffman created this integration. Basically, there's a saloon that you can only get to if you have the membership NFT. So you click, yeah, I want to get in. It's 0.01 mana. You can purchase it, and then you have access to this saloon in Decentraland. We also have a partnership with Mintgate. And Mintgate's like a really creator-friendly way of minting NFTs and token gating things. So if you don't have your own website, but you want somebody to pay to have access to like your Calendly link, or have a membership NFT to access that, or like a Dropbox link or like a Google Drive link, you can easily create a token gate with Mintgate, and it's super smooth. Everything works with this UDT governance token. If you hold this token, you can vote on the future of the protocol. We're getting set up, like now we're a DAO, hooray. But the whole point of this is that you get more UDT when you deploy a lock on your website. So the early people that help create the network get more UDT, and they have greater ability to govern the protocol in the future, versus, let's say, like 2 years down the line, some really, really large company says, well, we're going to do everything with Unlock protocol, and now we have all the governance tokens. They can't do that because there won't be as many governance tokens given to them from passing people through those locks. And so they won't be able to like have extreme control over the platform. So it's a way of like making sure the community values aren't eroded. We're working on this a lot more. Julian is like really fantastic at like thinking through a multi-year future of these governance. And then this is the grant program if you want to apply for a grant. We give out 100, 200, or 300 UDT depending on your project size. It meets every month. There's a small community of people associated and not associated with Unlock that vote on it. And then, of course, we need a developer advocate because there's a lot of stuff to do. So if anybody's interested, come say hello to me. And then finally, if you want a Session Po app, we made one. You can try out the protocol. And just at me at Case Organic, or you can at Jennifer from Mintgate. So that is my presentation. Good morning, everyone. Thank you.